And here's the reporting requirements that I talked a little bit about earlier, is that you must notify TCEQ if you fail to meet the 4-log treatment of viruses within 24 hours. And this is very important because, water systems, typically you're not going to, get a treatment technique violation if you're using the sheet to obtain the template that Jack is going to talk about. If you use that to calculate your MSR, your minimum specified residual, that is based on worst case scenario. And so typically, even if you fall below that minimum specified residual, you're not going to get a treatment technique violation. But it will require us to do further calculations if you are not able to do those calculations yourself. And I'll let Jack get into the details of those calculations in the next presentation. But typically, it's going to be temperature and your pH of your water that are very important things that we need to obtain from you, the water system, when you call us and say, I fell below the minimum specified residual, but I want to notify you, this is my notification for 24 hours, and then we can help you along through that process. And chances are you're not going to get a treatment technique violation because you still will meet that minimum specified residual. So the next slide. So treatment technique violations, that's what I alluded to. So if you fall below the MSR and you notify TCEQ and you still can't get that residual up, within 4 hours time frame, then you would obtain a treatment technique violation. But again, these are going to be very rare cases that water systems would get a treatment technique violation. Next slide. The 30-day public notice. And as you know, with this rule, you're going to see a very common theme. You're going to have violations and you're going to have a public notice requirement. And it's very important to understand that relationship, but this groundwater rule can get a little tricky whenever you have a fecal positive result. When you have a fecal positive result, that is not a violation. The indicator does not indicate that you have, or does not cause your water system to have a violation. It just simply means that you have fecal contamination of your source, and you must do the required corrective action, and you must do public notification. The public notification is required because the population, there are certain susceptible people in the population that could get sick if they drink water that is contaminated with potential waterborne pathogens or things of that nature, and their immune system is not robust enough. Just like a normal immune system can fight off the typical, pathogens, but certain susceptible populations may not be able to. So that public notice attached with the fecal indicator positive is not based on a violation. It's based on the need and the acute health threat. And this public notification is based on a treatment technique violation or subsequent failing to do a certain action. With this particular one, the 30-day notification is required if you fail to maintain the 4-log treatment of viruses. The next public notification is the 90-day public notification. Now this one would be required if you fail to conduct the monitoring to demonstrate that you are achieving that 4-log treatment of viruses that is required. Now, if you fail to conduct, that means you're not monitoring, you're not using the groundwater MOR or the groundwater monthly operating report to check the lowest daily residual that you have. It's either continuously or by daily grab sample, as I covered in the prior slides. You would have to make sure that you're writing that down and that you're calling us when you fall below that so that we can give you further instruction. The next slide, record keeping for water systems. There are a lot of records that y'all are going to have to be, saving and having on site so that the investigators can make sure that you're maintaining the appropriate requirements as per this regulation. So it's very important that you keep all these records specified in this slide for sure. And then I believe Alex Brasino, she's going to cover all these records in more in depth. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood which ones pertained to this specific topic, which are covered here, and record keeping for 4-log disinfection or for compliance of alternative. And this slide should be any alternative type treatment, not only membrane, but if you use other disinfectants or UV or things of that nature, you're going to have to really communicate with TCEQ to make sure that you abide by the compliance records required by this rule. And then public notice documentation, you definitely want to keep all public notice documentation. And not only that, you're definitely going to want to keep document of when you called TCEQ, the date and then also the duration of the lowest residual and the date of that. Next slide. And I believe that's all I have, Mike, and I appreciate you letting me come today and talk to you all about this groundwater, and I hope I've been informative, and if you have any questions, feel free to call us or email us as well.